Hello and welcome to Chapter 13, Maintaining Windows. All right, so we are covering we're going to try to cover all 18 chapters of this book. And if it's not the most important chapter, is this one. So there's a lot of information, a lot of good information that is useful, reference. So pay attention, read the book. If you're going to read any chapter, this is probably the only one that you want to read because it's going to help you to be a good PC tech starting point. All right. So you're going to write a lot. On the last chapter, we didn't do that much, but this one is a good chance you're going to be writing, taking a lot of notes. And the more notes you take, the better. But at least you got to take the ones that I asked you to take. All right. So let's start talking about how to make sure Windows maintained and up to date. So verify critical Windows settings. So what are the Windows settings? So write this down. I'm going to keep asking you to write down. Include updates. Make sure that updates are when you finish installing your Windows, you click on the updates and the updates automatically updates all the security patches or anything that is needed. All right. All the applications should be installed and updated. Device drivers, make sure all the device drivers, the sound, the mouse, everything, all the additional drivers that you need, your printer is up and running. And if you need to update the firmware, your BIOS may need to be updated. All right. So another thing to remember, your antivirus, anti-malware software is always running in the background. For Windows 10 and Windows 8, Windows Defender, that's what it's called, is running in the background. Security settings, network security settings. Write this down. Use the Network and Sharing Center to check that the network security type is set correctly. For optimum firewall settings, the network types are public and private. We talked about that last week. Remember, you go right in here. Oops, I'm sorry. Down here, and you can check on all the security if you want, the VPNs, and make sure you are all set and go on your network. If you want to see if that is private or public, right? Another thing I want you to write down. In fact, I want you to write down. Well, let's take it one by one. Back up the user data. Write this down. We'll get into details about backing up the data on the next chapter. Windows volume, make sure you back up the Windows volume and the system files. All right? We'll get into details on how to do that in the next chapter. All right? Another thing that you want to make sure, uninstall software that you no longer needed. Okay, so this is always a good idea to clean up the garbage that you don't need, and that speeds up your PC response time. To uninstall software, you want to use apps and features. Okay, so how do you do that? Remember, press the Windows and the X, and you go to apps and features, and there's where you go to uninstall apps. All right. What else? Clean up the hard drive. Okay, so a hard drive needs to be you need to have at least 15% free of the hard drive on C drive. Do a disk cleanup and erase all unnecessary files. Remember that? You could do that by going to your hard drive. And if you go to your C drive, right click on it, you go to properties, and you can do disk cleanup right here. All right. So that'll be the easiest way to get there. All right. So please write all of this stuff down. Patch management. Here's another thing I want you to remember. I know we're covering this in here. So patch management, whenever you see x86, that means you have a 32-bit CPU. If you see an x64, that always means a 64-bit operating system. Okay, remember that. x86 means 32-bit. x64, that means you have a 64-bit operating system. All right, today's CPU are hybrid. They can do both, by the way. All right, so let's talk about backup. procedures. Write the following down. Number 1, decide on the type of backup. Is it file level backup, image level backup, or critical applications only backup? So that's step number 1. Step number 2, decide on the backup destination. Do you want to place it in the cloud, local, or external drives? And then you decide on the backup software. Windows allows you to have 1 or 2 option utilities. You can use 1 or the 2 utilities to backup. Okay, we're going to go over that as well. Number 4, decide on how simple or complex the backup is going to be. What I mean by complex, if you're just going to do it at home, that's really a simple just backup and that's it. But if you are doing it for an enterprise, for an organization, you need to have scheduling, documentations, and all these other things that you have to worry about and keep track of when you're doing it for an enterprise. Number 5, ensure business continuity. Business continuity means you have to have some redundancy, just in case something goes wrong. Surge protectors, uninterrupted power supplies in case there is a blackout. All right. So again, let me also mention that when backup is complete, that's very important. Write this down. When backup is complete, test the recovery plan and keep backups in a safe and routinely test them. Believe it or not, a lot of people just back up and throw it on the shelf, and then whenever they need it, they don't know how to restore it, or the data is corrupted. All right, so you don't want that to happen. Backup data and system images. Okay, Windows 10 use file history or backup or restore to create the system image. So those are the 2 backup utilities that you can use in Windows: file history and backup and restore, to allow you to create a system image. All right, what is a system image? A system image is, I know I'm not going through these, but a system image is a backup of the entire Windows volume. All right, including the Windows installation, applications, user settings, and data. The best time to create an image is right after you install Windows. So please write this down. As soon as you finish installing Windows and all the apps, all the drivers, all the applications, everything, you want to create a system image. Okay? The image is always stored in a single file that has the extension .wim. Okay? All right, so Windows 10 and Windows 8 file history backs up user data. So if you go to the files history, you'll be able to back up all the user data. The user data that are, so write this down. File history backs up user data that is stored in all your documents, music folder, pictures folder, videos folder, desktop folders, as well as any offline OneDrive files, and other folders that you want. Any other folders that you want. But those are by default. So when the backup is enabled, it first makes a full backup. That means it backs up everything to another medium, maybe your flash drive or an external hard drive. By default, it's going to scan for a file and a folder to see if it has been changed every 4 hours, every hour, and keeps as many generation of backups as free space allows. So every hour after it does a full backup, that's called incremental. It keeps going back to see if there's any changes, and it backs that up. All right, so how do you do that? Step number 1, when you want to do connect the backup device, that's it through USB port. Number 2, in the setting app, click on update and security, then click on backup. Step number 3, manage backups and more, and click on more options every 10 minutes or daily or whatever. All right, so write those 3 steps down. To restore files and files history. So let's talk about that. 2 steps. Write these down. I know I told you you're going to write a lot. Right click on the file, or folder, and select the restore previous versions from the shortcut menu. The property box for the file or folder appears with the previous versions tab selected. Step number 2, select the versions you want to restore and click restore. All right, a message box will come up. They're going to ask if you are sure you want this to continue. Of course, you click restore and you're all good to go. All right. All right, so moving on. Windows 7 backup and restore. So it backs up any folder on the hard drive and creates a system image. So that's probably the place to go to. This is the best utility you have within Windows, is the backup and restore. So there are 7 steps that I want you to write down. I know it's a pain, but because writing them down will enable you to remember where to go to and what to do. Remember, this book will always be a reference for you when you are going to be hopefully attacked. So remember where to go to if you ever get into an interview for a help desk position. Chapter 13 is the place to go. At least one chapter you should be familiar with. All right, that's why I highly recommend that you go through this at least once or twice, reading it, that is. All right, so let's go through backup and restore before we finish this this video. Step number 1, the folders and volumes are first backed up entirely. This is called a full backup. All right. Then on a schedule you set, any files or folder is backed up if it will be backed up if it has changed or been created since the last backup. This is called an incremental. I just discussed that a few seconds ago. Occasionally, Windows does another full backup for you. Step number 2, open the control panel, click on backup and restore. All right, this is where you set up the backup. Step number 3, select the device or locations to hold the backup. Step number 4, you can allow Windows to decide what to back up or choose yourself. Okay, this is really up to you. Step number 5, make your selections. What do you want to back up? If the medium can hold the system image, do it, right? The option is included by default, by the way. All right, so application data is usually located in, where is it located? See users, username, and apps data. And the Internet Explorer favorites and all of that. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, step number 6. In the next box, you can verify that the correct item has been checked. All right, so you click on that, click on the schedule. You can choose to run the backup daily if you want, weekly or monthly, and select the time of day. Make your selections and click on OK. And finally, in number 7, your backup settings, and click back up the settings, click on backup, let it back up, and save the settings, and run the backup and let it go. All right, remember, creating an image takes time. So system image includes the entire C drive. Don't depend on the system image as your backup, and you can create system image anytime after Windows is installed. And then you can use this image to recover for a failed hard drive. So that's what I told you. When you first install the system and it's 100% going and everything's perfect, take an image. So in case anything goes wrong after that, you have the image to restore it, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and you got your system up and running. All right. When the system protection utility is turned on, it automatically backs up the system files and stores them in the hard drive at regular intervals. And just before you install the software or hardware, these snapshots of the systems are called restore points and include Windows system files that have changed since the last restore point was made. All right, so system protection utility is the next thing we're going to talk about on the next video. It's important to know. So I'll see you on the next video. Make sure you write all the notes. Hopefully your fingers are not tired, but write down all the notes and upload them as homework. And I'll see you on Chapter 13, Part 2 soon. All right. I'll see you guys in a minute.